And voila! Here it is, the Rolaids Night Vision 1.0. Let's do a quick review. From front to back, IR illumination, LCD viewer, easy to mount bullet camera, and battery pack. And that one bolt right there takes everything off. And sure, you want to see what it looks like through the scope. Well, this screen's a little bit better quality than my DVR, but let me go to Rolaids version 1.1 with the DVR. Hang with me. And a microphone so you can hear what I'm saying. Let's go outside. 15 yards. The moose at 25 yards. Teddy bear at 50 yards. Camo frog at 75 yards. Our pigeon-sized swan at 100 yards. It's awesome. Leo the lion at 125. And our good old cow at 150. So we've seen what it would do all the way out to 150. Let's go back in time and build this thing. This place is a wreck. Hi guys, welcome back to Rolaids Bench. This is Roland, and it is a wreck. I took a little break after I did the whole night view goggles and scope cam review, and now I'm digging into new packages. It's kind of like Christmas in November, and got all kinds of parts and pieces. I'm going to start assembling my first version of my take on night vision. This has been in my brain for months, probably spring or early summer, and from my recovery from the brain damage stuff, it's kind of slow in coming, but I'm finally to this point. A lot of this has been already done over the pond with the lads in England. They've got a couple sites, I'll put a couple links to them. Found out that a lot of my ideas, as nothing is new under the sun, was already done. But I've got a few tweaks that are different. Simplified parts that are easily available here in the US. So let's get started doing, I guess we'll call it the Rolaids Night Vision 1.0. And we're going to start with the lowest cost, easiest build, or the closest to lowest cost. I have about 3 different concepts of builds for this first series, and then I've got another idea that has been generated again from one of the forums over in Europe that is the potential of creating our own version of kind of the Pulsar in 550. So with a reticle that gets to move and possibly a camera and so forth, that I'm excited about trying that. That'll come a little later when I get done with this setup, see how I'm feeling. So let's get started. So here's the parts we're going to need. Rechargeable lithium-ion battery, Velcro pouch for it, monitor, a little monitor mount, Weaver Picatinny, a bullet camera, you'll see why in a little bit, 1-inch scope rings, high rise, a 12-inch piece of Weaver Picatinny rail. You'll either use a 9-degree mount or a bridge mount, or another small piece of Weaver Picatinny rail, a couple bolts from the hardware store, and one of these IR illuminators. We have the Pulsar, which has its own mount on the bottom, and we have 2 different Streamlight versions, and I do have a mount for them if we use them. I will be reviewing them later also. So here we go to mount up this setup. Fairly simple solution. We're going to be putting a scope mount on here, holding the rail, and then putting another mount here and the camera. Now, there's a few things to notice here. One is because even though I'm using a high rise right here without another riser adapter, I will not be able to run my rail across here. Now I'm showing you that because if you can do that, or you want to use an adapter, you can put another piece on top, drill and tap or epoxy, which will hold your IR illuminator and also hold your camera monitor, and so that this whole thing along with the camera on the end can just pop off with one screw and put right back on. Very simple. Because of the scope that I'm using, we're going to have to approach it either at 90-degree angle or right here. So I will get started. And that, my friends, just saved me 10 bucks. I know. If I was at the shop that I owned at one point there before the brain injury, I had all the equipment. But since I do this when I feel like it in my back room, we do the backyard engineering method. Clean that up a little bit, and a little bit of permanent marker. There you go. I got two small 90-degree Weaver adapters for the price of one. Did that all mostly just to show you guys we can improvise. I know you guys all do it. These will be used right here to hold a light and LCD viewer. And so as you all are getting wise to what I'm doing here, this will be attaching to here, and the camera we will wrap just a little bit of electrical tape around there. We'll be able to get in a very exacting position for the camera. One thing I've noted, I've seen a lot of different builds, especially over in England, and some of the ones that use a little bit of tube, and I'll show you a version of that after a bit. The camera gets too close, and although it's sort of focused in, just like when you put your eye here and you're moving back and forth, you get kind of that smaller dot, and sometimes you get a little bit of like a reflection that is kind of in the lens, or a whiteout effect. The same thing here. You got to get this camera at just the right spot for the best overall view. You get it in that perfect sweet spot, and then it can be, if it's bumped just a little bit here and there, the view is still really good. But the reality is just like with your eye, there's a sweet spot. So, because I'm going to show you a couple different setups, one will be like off to the side, low, the other one will be up top. The one off to the side, we're going to use my little modded pieces here that will actually be able to mount the light. The one that's on top, for those of you that choose to go that direction, I'm going to just go ahead and drill and tap another little piece of bar here. I didn't need it the full length and didn't want the weight, so I'm going to go ahead and just tap that on, see what happens. There, check that out. Got that tapped on there. You could also use some steel epoxy. I wanted to be able to do this so I can take it back off. So now the next thing I'm going to show you that I'm going to be modding is this screen here. The reason why is, if you're in normal shooting position, right here your screen this direction is great. But some people, using different cameras and monitors like this, have found that if this screen is in an angle like this, or even almost up, then you hold the rifle down on your lap, especially if you're shooting rats down underneath something. So I'm going to mod the back side of this so that it'll have more tilt. As what we've got is a ball joint here, and we're bumping here. We're going to take this apart, use a Dremel tool, carve a little slot right here. We'll allow that to go all the way. There you go. From 9° swivel all the way up to flat. Now that we've modded this screen, we're going to mount this to the little Weaver mount. This Weaver mount started its life as a tripod mount. So this all went together. It was a tripod mount. These are $6 or $7. Pull that apart, that slips out, and we're going to put a bolt and a nut through there. Drill, fasten that on, trim these off. This also has a little sticky pad, so we'll adhere that to it. There we go, really solid. Now we're going to cut these off with a little Dremel tool. And there you are, our screen all ready to go. Mounted, totally tiltable, $26. Now the next upgrade version I want to show you. Same size screen. This is the little DVR that I've used different times to record. You can get it American right around the $200 or less. Get it shipped from Hong Kong for I think in the $90 realm. I'll give you some links. So we're going to mount this little guy, iTrek Super Mount, $15. This has got to be one of the coolest little deals that I ran across to in a while. This guy is made just to mount like smartphones, anything like this. It's rubber, grips it very solid. You just tighten this in, it's a little bit snug. You can stick this on the corner, put this about anywhere. Now this doesn't give you a tilt option, and you could do that with like a bicycle mount, smartphone holder, but for me this is what I'm going to go with. Now I've got a 1/4-20, which is a standard. This thing is made for a standard tripod mount. 1/4-20 volt. That little guy right there can hold my DVR. This, about $125 option. So there's the viewing option using the little iTrek mount and the DVR. This is a smartphone bicycle mount. If you have the amount of room, you want to mount that directly to your scope, it works to hold the different screens, but it's not so simple to take off. I want all this to remove in one piece and go to another rifle. Second, drift. People that make some of the drift cameras, they do make a little setup here that will go onto a Weaver Picatinny rail here. Okay. Then for your camera, if you want to use a camera that's just shooting straight out to film, and or if you want to mount this little eye track onto here, you can do all that. But that's $25 for this little guy, 25 to 30, and this little guy is only $6. And hey, we're back. New day. I got my risers. They will affect this right here. You see how this one scope mount is mounting my Weaver Picatinny rail, and it's bumping against my illuminator. I just got it slightly put in there just so you can see that. So I'm starting with the low profile risers, and this is in the sideways mount position. I'll show you the top mount, or really any position you want to make on your rifle. Check this out, guys, how quickly and easily this can change and still keeping everything lined up in the scope. Right here, if your scope doesn't have this problem, you won't even need a riser. Right here I'm using a low profile riser. Here's a medium profile riser, which would gain you another 1/4 inch at least, and they even make a high. And then the camera mount. Naturally, this doesn't quite fit in here, so you can use a piece of rubber, or I'm going to do the simple wrap electrical tape around it, stick it in. Okay, I'm set up here showing you how to get things lined up. I got a 12mm lens on this camera. First I'm focusing it in so that it's clear. This crosshairs are, and all I gotta do is twist this little camera, get them straight. I can play with where the camera should be by just taking this off the Weaver mount and seeing if I should go forward or back. I'm actually really close. You can see how that our sight picture is getting narrower there, and we're getting narrower there. So I'm really pretty close for the camera right now. A lot of times you get an option for a couple different lenses. This is a 12mm view. You can see that I'm filling up the majority of the screen so I can actually see almost all of my scope view. So if you're panning left to right, the 12mm gives me just the right amount here. Now I'll go to the 16. Okay, the 16mm lens, you can see there's our moose that we have been using off and on. He's out there at 15 yards. I'm at 12 power on my scope. With the 16mm, you can see now I've zoomed in. I don't even see quite the edges of my view of my reticle. I definitely don't see the up and down. Definitely zoomed more, but now I can't quite see an object in my scope view. And I'm going to show you also the 25. Okay, just to show you the difference, now the 25, you can see I'm zoomed in. I don't even see the bars on my reticle. I'm already into the mil dots and very zoomed in. Now I could back this zoom out, but backing the zoom out would give me a little more adjustment, little difference. But depending on where you choose to shoot, and you know what your mil dot holdover under is. So there's the three options, 12, 16, and 25. I am going to currently do the 12, so it gives me as much reticle view as possible. You can also go to something like this. This little lens here is a 9 to 22, so it's zoomable. You can put that guy on, but if I do that, I'm going to have to move this camera back further, and for simplicity's sake, and of course you can't make that waterproof, my recommendation, stick with the 12. Use a little jeweler's screwdriver. It's a teeny little screw right here. Snug that in. My focus stays. I put on the waterproof cap. Snug that into the little O-ring. And I've got a pretty water resistant, very easily on-off rig. You may choose to use, for the battery, something like this or this. Both of these are a couple different kinds of magazine holders, easily strap onto the stock. This gun, RWS, I'm using it mostly to demo, easy to film off of. So I'm going to choose to put the battery actually on the same setup right here. So this whole thing will remove in one simple twist. I'm using Velcro one-way wrap. So the last thing we have is cable to secure, and I bought Velcro wraps also that are cable size. There. Here's the complete setup, ready to hunt. Flick the switch, and I'm go. Totally adjustable screen here, depending on how you want to hold your rifle. And that one bolt right there takes everything off. So here's the same setup, twisted to the top, allows some space for your scope. If you get up here close, you can see it's got the other Weaver rail that I showed earlier mounted here. This setup could be rotated really at any angle that suits you best. And if you want to record, you can take off the rear view one and put on the DVR. So let's try our $15 pouch. There, how's that? Here's the cleaned up version. In the next few videos, I'll be discussing different cameras and why I chose this design for simplicity of mounting, along with the different options of chips that are out there within the Sony X-Views and the Super HADs, and got a few coming with the OSDs, and we'll be explaining what I found out about some of that. There's more expensive and better cameras, but this is a good medium line and easy to mount. Also, we'll be discussing different IR illuminators in the 850 and the 940 realm. Again, thanks for watching the Rolaids Night Vision Build 1.0. Hope you enjoyed it, learned a little bit, give me some feedback too. Got a little bit more to show you here in the next few videos, along with goggles. Got to play with some goggle versions for viewing also. So, till next time, take care. Partway through the journey, I've also found out a lot of different pieces and parts of this have already been done and created. A lot of it over the pond with our mates from, let's try that again. A lot of this has been already done over the pond with the lads in England.